Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast with your hosts George Tsounyas
and Maria Petrakou. So what are we chatting about today? We are discussing another one of our top destinations to visit in Greece in 2025, and that is the island of Ithaki.
Yes, an island you've recently visited, Maria, and I mean probably getting bored of saying it, but it's another one you've been to without me. But in your defense, you did invite me, so I can't really ask you when you're taking me.
I did invite you, indeed.
You did say to me, I really need to take you here. And I was like, yeah, you say that every time, but one that I need to visit with you for sure.
I think you need to visit all of them with me for sure, but this is definitely one that we should go soon. Just say the when and we're gone.
Yes.
But as George said, I was there recently, and as soon as I got there, I was like, I cannot believe I've left it so long to come here. And I mean, it hadn't been that long, but every time I go, I just dream of going back.
Yeah. If you don't know, which you do know, then you need to be following us on the gram, on our social media. So before we get into today's episode, if you're not following us on Instagram or TikTok, pause, stop what you're doing, head over to the gram, and you all know the handle, which is at My Greek Island.
Exactly. And obviously, like, subscribe, drop a rating or a review, share with your friends, your family, everyone you know, because it definitely helps us keep coming back with more content. And if you want to support us further and have our eternal gratitude, then you can further support the show by signing up to our Patreon, where you will get to access ad-free episodes and exclusive content.
Mm-hmm. So, without further ado, let's dive into the island of Ithaki.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast, dedicated to take you, the wanderlust, on a journey through Greece.
There are 227 inhabited Greek islands. Which one will you visit next?
My Greek Island, with your hosts George and Maria.
So, the island of Ithaki, or Ithaca, which people might be more familiar with, is a part of the Ionian Islands in Greece, which is the west of Greece, famous for its mythological association with Odysseus and Homer's Odyssey. It is quite small, mountainous. It's quite a mountainous island and has a rugged coastline with crystal clear waters, as we have become accustomed to with Greek islands. Whilst it's small, it does have, I think we said, around a population of around 3,000 people, most of which live in the main town of Vathi, and it does retain an authentic Greek island atmosphere. Now, Maria, putting you on the spot here, but you did, get to speak with some locals, and you were, meeting a lot of locals on your trip, weren't you?
Some, yes, and some of them I knew from previous trips. Some I met new people, as obviously on this trip, but I also got to catch up with people that I knew from the first time that I went, which was quite a while ago now.
I mean, it's no surprise that wherever you go, you leave a lasting memory. So I'm not surprised they don't remember you from
definitely
from
in the hairdressers, but yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. Now, most families on the island are involved in fishing, farming, and obviously tourism. During the summer season, there is a notable seasonal population increase, as is expected, with both visitors and also returning people with heritage from the island. Now, Vathi, which you said is the main town, has one of the world's largest natural harbours. And Ithaki is known for its tranquil vibe, beautiful beaches, and also traditional villages.
Exactly. So if we were to look at when you should go, general rule of thumb that we say for most islands, probably between May to October. Now, if you follow on Instagram, you will have seen that I visited in May and the waters were cool, but they were very decent. I mean, they weren't freezing. I was expecting the water to be very, very cold, but it was actually quite decent. It was cool though. Like if you're not into cool waters, then it's not for you. But
I mean,
I like cool waters, but not cold waters.
Yeah, I was going to say that, I mean, the people following the account on Instagram will have seen where you were like, I think you did a poll like, will I go in the water, will I not? Because it's quite cold at that time of year. And then you did, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Without even thinking, I was like, I'm just going in. But yeah, obviously, if you do want warmer waters, then prefer the end of the season. So October will be much warmer than May. But both May and October, of course, will be quieter than the rest of the summer months. So from especially July and August is when it is peak season, lively, but it's also at its peak and the busiest time of the year. Now, if you want to combine it with some local festivals, then you have the wine festival in Berahori. Berahori is the village that overlooks Vathi, and that takes place on the last Saturday of July, where you can do some local wine tasting and engage in some traditional Greek festivities. Then on the 5th and 6th of August, there is an event happening in the village of Stavros, which is the most popular festival in the summer, which is the Transfiguration of the Saviour. So it's a religious festival. So keep those in mind if you're visiting Ithaki, because you might want to combine it with a local festival and see what the locals get up to.
Exactly. And I mean, taking part in a local festival when you're in Greece is a real sort of cultural experience and one not to be missed, not just on Ithaki, but wherever you might be going, whichever island or area of Greece. Now, if you are interested in going to Ithaki, are you planning a trip to Greece and feeling completely overwhelmed by all those options? Well, we've got you covered. Why not book a personalised travel consultation with our very own Greek island guru, Maria, designed to make planning simple, efficient, and completely tailored to you. You can choose from 3 tiers. Whether you just want, to pick her brains, need a high-level plan to build your very own trip, or want a fully customised travel itinerary, there's an option to suit your style and budget. And in true Maria style, she has thought of everything, so you can also add follow-up support by email, or even book a second call if you need help finalising those finer details for your trip to Greece. Now to book, head over to the website www.mygreekis.land/book to see the options and get started with your travel consultation with Maria. That is www.mygreekis.land/book. There are 227 inhabited Greek islands. Which one will you visit next? How to get there. Now, the easiest way to reach the island is by flight to Kefalonia and a ferry from there. So there isn't an airport. So you would fly to Argostoli Airport in Kefalonia and then take a ferry. The ferry leaves from Sami in Kefalonia, which is approximately a 30-minute drive from the airport. Ferries are not that frequent, so it is really key. So if timing is key for you, or combining with Kefalonia, bear that in mind. You can also take a sea taxi, and that's useful for those who do not wish to wait or have arrived too late for the main routes. And there are usually 2 in the morning in terms of ferries and 2 in the afternoon during the summer months. And the route is really short. It's only 20 to 30 minutes. And was it okay for you when you went? Because you went...
Yeah. So and this is the thing. This is why, we're mentioning the sea taxi here, because although you do have the routes in the morning and the afternoon, what I did was I arrived in Kefalonia and I stayed one night in Kefalonia, and then I left the next morning with the early one. I didn't take a sea taxi because not all of the sea taxis usually, well, not usually, they don't take cars. And I had a car with me from Kefalonia airport, pick up, drop off. So therefore I wanted to take the car with me to Ithaki, and so I had to use the ferry service. So there's certain factors to keep in mind when you go to Ithaki. And that's why on the Kefalonia episode, which, oh my God, I think it was our 3rd episode, George, and we're now like on 100 and something. We do say that the Kefalonia is best combined with Ithaki because of this really good connection of 20 minutes between them. But depending on whether or not you want to have a car with you from Kefalonia airport, that could limit how you get there. So whether or not you take a sea taxi or you have to take the ferry.
Yes, and I mean, you might be on, living your Greek island summer or Greece summer, and you might want to take another way. So the other ways is you can take by ferry from Patras or Astakos on mainland Greece to Pisoaetos in Ithaki, which is the main port. You can also get it from other Ionian islands. So we did mention Kefalonia, so you can get it from Sami all year round and also from Fiskardo in the summer. But you can also get a ferry from Lefkada. So you've got Vasiliki and Nydri in the summer. But we are going to leave because there is a lot of names and we do get some messages sometimes. Like there's so many names that George and Maria mentioned. I have to stop and pause and don't know how they're written or whatever. So as always, we're going to leave things in the show notes and also the link to book any ferries and also the link to the Ithaki website for information on those sea taxis if you are interested in taking
exactly.
one.
But just to give people an idea, so the first time I went to Ithaki, I didn't stay in Kefalonia. I flew to Kefalonia. I took a sea taxi to Ithaki. And then I rented a car in Ithaca. But after Ithaki, I left the car at the port in Pisoaetos and I took a boat to Lefkada. From there, I rented a car and then I left to come back to London from the airport of Preveza, which is very close to Lefkada. So just an idea, if that's something that might appeal to you, that is an itinerary I have done in the past. But moving on to how long to stay there and some additional combinations, an ideal stay in order to see the basics, I personally would recommend 2 to 4 days as a minimum. Now, this will allow you to explore the islands, villages, the beaches, and some of the hiking trails. Obviously, you can stay longer, and if you do, you will see more and you will have more of a relaxed holiday and some downtime. But let's say that you want to combine it, and I've already given you one idea of, starting in Kefalonia, ending in Lefkada. But the most easily combined islands are Kefalonia, obviously with an airport, Lefkada, which again is easy to combine and also has an airport nearby. And then a smaller island, which, George, I seem to think that you visited, called Meganisi.
Yes, I did when I was in Lefkada. Wow, good memory.
Yeah.
I did visit indeed.
And note that some people will stay in Kefalonia and will go to Ithaki for a day trip. That is quite common, and usually is what they do is they have a car and they take the car with them. They'll drive around Ithaki and then they'll return to Kefalonia. I personally believe that to see the bare minimum, at least, and if that's what you wanted to do, if you wanted to go from a road trip from Kefalonia, possibly stay at least one night if you can, and if time permits, etc. Because that way, at least, you'll get 2 full. You can, go with the morning ferry the one day, come with the afternoon ferry the other day, and that gives you 2 full 24 hours to see a lot. You can see a lot from Ithaki in 2 days. Not that you can't on a day trip. You can see stuff, but it will be limited what you'll be able to see. But yeah, if anyone is listening and does want to do Ithaki on a day trip, do get in touch, because if that's something that interests you, I will add an additional product to the website which will outline the best way to see the island within 24 or 48 hours, if that's something that you plan to do.
Interesting. And on the topic of seeing the island, I mean, getting around the island, ideally, a car will give you the flexibility to see things in your own time. And as you briefly mentioned, you took the car with you from Kefalonia, right?
Yeah, I did. Although that might not always be the best solution, because if you're coming and leaving from Kefalonia, then it probably does make sense to have the car with you from beginning to end. And it also makes things easier. It makes things easier with your luggage. But if, for example, you do what I did the first time I went and are continuing your trip to Lefkada, then I don't think it's worth taking a car with you, and it's probably worth renting a car in Ithaki.
Yeah, so car rental, depending on your trip, is advised, but the island does also offer taxis and minibuses, so that is a consideration to kind of make for yourself. Now, who the island is for, um, if you're wondering kind of, is this island for me? Then take notes because it's perfect for travelers seeking peace and authenticity. Did you find your peace in Ithaki?
You always find peace in Ithaki.
There you go. So hikers and nature lovers because of the lush scenery and trails, and we mentioned that it's quite mountainous. Mythology enthusiasts, of course, because we talked about the mythology relating to it, and those looking for a more traditional, non-touristy Greek island experience. And it's probably not ideal for those wanting kind of that lively nightlife and large-style resorts, really.
Yeah, there are none. There are none on the island.
There you go. And many on the beaches, I think this is you like that, is many of the beaches are unorganized on the island. So although this might make it less attractive for families, if you are like Maria and I and have a tent or your own setup, then it could also be great for families looking for having a bit of a peaceful beach, but which comes with less facilities. So if that's for you.
Yeah, exactly. Now, where should we stay? Most accommodation options are, of course, in the main town where the majority of the population is located, and that is in the main town of Vathi, which does have a charming waterfront with lots of tavernas and cafes. But one thing to know is, and even in the summer, that after lunch and around between lunch and until about 6 or 7ish, practically everything closes in Vathi. Very few shops remain open. So do bear that in mind, especially if you're going for like a day trip and you plan to be in Vathi around 4 p.m. Most things will be closed. People go for their like afternoon siestas. So just bear that in mind. But what I personally would do next time I go is, because I usually stay in Vathi, and what I would like to do next time I go is to stay in Vathi for a few nights, but then stay a few nights on the other side of the island in, for example, a place like Giaoúrti, which is a picturesque fishing village with cute accommodation options, or somewhere near there anyway, because that then allows you to visit other parts of the island with less driving. Now, if you want a really local feel, instead of Giaoúrti, you could potentially consider staying in the village of Spyros, which gives you a really local feel. It's a quieter island. It is in the inland. It is an inland village, but it's kind of in the middle of everything, and you will definitely get that local feel, and you will engage with a lot of locals. Now, accommodation options range from like family-run guest houses to little boutique hotels. As I said previously, you will not find any big hotels on this island, so do bear that in mind. Now, whether you stay or not in any of the destinations mentioned, like for example Vathi, Spyros, Giaoúrti, definitely visit them, because there's lots to see in these places, and in addition to them, I would also check out the villages of like Frikes, Perachori, Exogi, and Danogi.
Yes, and at this point, the favorite part usually is about the beaches. And let me tell you, I was living through Maria's Instagram stories, but also the personal, private pictures you were sending me of the beaches. And the island does have many beaches, most of which are pebbled. So I think appropriate shoes are required. So we're going to mention just a few. The first up, is Maria's favorite beach, which is called Ithaki, and it does require a short trek, around 30 minutes, or you can reach it by boat from Vathi. Now, I don't remember, Maria, did you trek it or did you get the boat?
I trekked it. And I would put it on the easy trek routes. It's a very easy trek. It's quite flat. There's a very short uphill, which is not at all difficult. And just the last bit is a bit downhill, which again is not difficult, but I wouldn't recommend doing it in flip-flops because you do need a good grip. But the top tip here is, and this was a tip given to me by a local when I first visited the island and wanted to go to this beach. There are 3 beaches in a row I don't recall the name of the second beach, but it's the first beach is Minimata, and then there's another beach further down, and then you trek to Ithaki. Now, park at the first beach, park at Minimata, because from Minimata onwards, the road is so narrow that, and at the end of the road, there are only 4 parking spots and nowhere to turn. So if you get to the end and all those 4 parking spots are taken, you cannot turn back. You have to reverse back. And the road is so narrow, it is the most stressful road to reverse back. So that is a top tip given to me by a local. And I have seen others reversing, and believe me, it's not the best experience. So park at Minimata Beach. That is the top tip I'm going to give you on this episode.
Yes, and I'm breaking out in sweat just thinking of the fact that, you know, getting to the end and having to reverse up the road.
You wouldn't reverse. You'd literally call
I wouldn't
for
even go
assistance.
down. I'd be like, this looks too narrow, Maria, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
The next
thing
beach,
is, you don't realize it because Minimata is actually on the corner. So as soon as you realize that you've reached Minimata Beach, park or reverse from there. You don't realize it because you first turn, and it's a bit further down you realize how narrow the road is.
So yeah, you got to listen to My Greek Island and the top tip, or do your research before going.
Yep,
or
and I
speak to
do
a
have a
local.
reel coming to show you the route to Ithaki because it's not as straightforward as people think. It is if you look for the signs, but you know, I will create a reel just to come with me to Ithaki Beach kind of style.
The next beach is Filiatro, which is just a 10-minute drive from Vathi. Probably among the most popular beaches. This beach is protected by the winds, but can get very busy in the summer. And I think we said most beaches are unorganized. This one is organized. The next one is Sarakinico. It's on the same road to Filiatro. 2 beaches joined by a footpath. And then the next one is Afales, which is a beach with large white pebbles. Much peaceful with less crowds than other beaches. However, it's not protected from the winds and it can often be a bit kind of turbulent. So yeah, bear that in mind. And then finally, we've got Polis, which the beach is below the village of Stavros. This is where the Homeric cave is located, where the Efhin Odyssey with the blessing of Odysseus was found, and which is now kept in the Museum of Stavros.
Exactly. Now, we've already mentioned that Ithaki and in general the Ionion is popular with sailing. So if you're not sailing, though another great thing to do if you're not sailing is to hire a boat and head to some of the secluded beaches, which are only accessible via boat. And you could even possibly visit some little islets or islands nearby. And if you don't want to hire a boat yourself, and because some people do tend to do that, remember you can also always hire a skipper.
Yes. I mean, I'm still trying to convince you to go on a little, you know, boat with me where I drive it, but still unconvinced.
Yeah.
But
Let's
I mean,
see.
I might try and get a license. Like my parents have a boat license, so maybe I should try and get one and do the course and have the certificate, and then maybe you'll feel a bit more confident.
Let's see.
What other things are there to do? So we mentioned around it's good for like hikers. So there's lots of walks and trails, and it's another great thing that Ithaki offers. And some trails perfectly blend in mythology and history too. And we are going to leave the site for the various trails in the show notes. We've got you covered because we did our research, and we know some people are interested to explore a bit further.
Exactly. Now, the island also has museums, and you can visit the Archaeological Museum and the Maritime Museum. And as George said, the island is known for its mythology. So you could visit the Cave of Nymphs, which is associated with the Odysseus. You could hike the Homeric paths that connect beaches and historical sites. And you could even visit the School of Homer. Now, we're going to plug someone here. So when I went, I did a guided tour. So I will present the guide to you, just in case you would like to use his services when you are in Ithaki. And because he offers, so I'm going to tell you one of his most popular guided tours. That is not the one that I did though, and it's one that I plan to do when I go back. So the most popular tour is the Ithaca of Odysseus and the Homer tour, which the Spyros Couvaras, who is from the island, and he's a philologist and an archaeologist, so it lasts about 3 hours, and he will walk you through key sites like Polis Harbour, Stavros Square, the Archaeological Museum, where you can see findings from the cave of Polis. He will take you to the ruins of Homer's school, which is actually believed to be the palace of Odysseus. Now, I'll leave his email in the show notes in case you want to email him to do this tour. There are also, however, churches on the island, with two very interesting ones being the monastery of, or as we say in Greek, Iera Moni Katharon. And there is also a church in Anoyi called which is the Church of the Assumption of Virgin Mary. Now, close to these, there's also a great trekking route. The tour that I did was actually visit these churches with Spyros, and I would definitely recommend you do that, because you will learn things about these churches that you will not have an idea or a clue if you were to visit them by yourself.
Okay, so local produce and food, because we know that's a real popular sort of thing for our listeners and also for Maria. So what things are local to Ithaki? We've got artichokes, wild greens, both sweet and bitter. And greens are something that we always have when we're on holiday, and something people overlook other than the Greek salad, don't they? Lots of herbs.
We've said we prefer them anyway.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I think we might have said it a few times, but I'm just saying it again for those that haven't heard. There's lots of herbs that's used in the cooking, like sage, oregano, and thyme. You are going to get some really high quality olive oil, which is local and also delicious, and also honey.
A few dishes that you can find on the island. One very famous dish is called savoro, and it is actually a fish which they put in vinegar, and it's actually served with blackcurrant. So you've got the sweetness with the vinegary taste, which is quite interesting. I think it's a very acquired taste, so it's not for everyone.
Did you try it?
Yeah, I've had it many times.
I mean, I don't know why
love it. Yeah. Obvio. Then an interesting thing in Ithagi is a way of cooking. So there is a way of cooking with something called a tsereba, and a tsereba is effectively a clay pot which you heat up, and then you will cook the food in this pot. So the pot actually goes over the food, and it cooks. It's a slow method of cooking food, and I tried that as well. So we're going to mention it, however, in the section which is for Patreon only, where I actually went and saw how they cooked with the tsereba. Then we have local cheeses. Now, apparently, I actually unfortunately didn't get to meet this person, but apparently someone recently moved to Ithaca who mainly lived in Santorini, but apparently has heritage from the island. I didn't confirm it, but this person actually is producing a lot of cheese in Ithaki, and everyone talks about him. So if you go, ask where he is and visit and eat some local cheeses. Then for our sweet tooths out there, we have rovani, which is made from honey, rice, and oil. So good with ice cream. So definitely try that. And then they have some local wine, which I think one is called, the most popular indigenous grape variety is papadiko. I hope I'm not butchering that and pronouncing it correctly. I didn't get to try it because I was drinking Kefalonian wines actually when I visited. But that's something that I do want to explore more on my next trip, because apparently the island has a lot of grape varieties which are threatened with extinction, which is something that Cyprus went through as well, and they've now sort of brought back the indigenous grape varieties. So I think it's something very interesting to dig into more on a future trip.
Yes, and at this point of the podcast, we're going to take a look at some of Maria's top picks and places to eat and drink, and shout out to those Patreon, because if you are a Patreon subscriber, you are getting to hear these top picks. So thank you for your support. So over to you, Maria, for some of your top picks. Well, I think that comes to the end of this episode. Thank you for listening. And for those of you that were from Patreon, you would have heard Maria's top picks. So just a reminder for those that are not on Patreon, you could join the Patreon and you get some exclusive content and some of Maria's top picks. So as we do with every episode, before we go, at the end of the episode, we give you a Greek phrase or some words. And I think in the spirit of the local produce of Ithaki, we're going to give you the names of these produce or items, so you have them in your back pocket when you go to Ithaki or wherever you go in Greece, really, because they're some of the staples. So first off, we have olive oil, which is ladi,
or
elaiólado, which is a bit harder to say. So yeah.
Yeah. So if it's just oil, it's ladi.
Yeah, ladi. But olive
if you
oil.
Want olive oil, it's elαιόλαδο.
Ελαιόλαδο. Yes, correct. Then we have honey, which is méli. And I mean, you can't not use honey for me in the context of yogurt. So if you are going for breakfast and maybe you want yogurt with honey, méli με γιαούρτι. Méli με γιαούρτι. That's just a bonus one there because I associate honey and yogurt together. Next one, oregano, which is rίγανη. And then finally, I mean, this is a bit of a contentious one because I can't say I love them, but artichokes. Are you a fan, Maria, of artichokes? It's just like...
And I know you're not, but don't worry, I will eat yours as well because I
mean,
absolutely
if I had
love
to,
them.
I'd eat it, but I wouldn't select it. You know, I would pick it off if it was on an item, you know.
Don't
so
worry, I will pick them off your plate for you.
So the word for artichokes in the plural form is angináres. Angináres, or if it was just one, is aginara, but usually it's more than one, so angináres.
Cool.
Any you would like to repeat, Maria? I was good.
Do you want me to go one more time?
You could do, you know, give them a bit of your, you know.
Give you another voice to the words.
Yes.
So oil is ladi, or olive oil is ελαιόλαδο. Honey is méli. And as George said, it goes with yogurt, something unfortunately I can't eat. So yogurt is giaoúrti. So for example, yogurt with honey would be giaoúrti με μέλι. Oregano, rίγανη. Artichokes, angináres. So it's a wrap?
Yes, it is indeed.
Amazing. So thank you everyone for listening, and we will see you on the next episode. Γεια σας.
Γεια σας. Right, my Greek Islanders, this comes to the end of another episode of this podcast.
Now you know the drill. If you like this episode, share it to share the love with the My Greek Island community, where everyone is welcome. And
don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. And maybe give us a little rating from wherever you're listening to us from, so you are notified every time a new episode drops. And if you have any suggestions or requests, get in touch.
And for those of you visiting Greece, don't forget to tag @MyGreekIsland on Instagram for a future feature. Until then, see you later, or as they say in Greek,
Ta leme.